Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are glad to see all of you here today, and it is the Estonian session. We want to talk about various digital dividends that we can show that Estonia is reaping from its years and on some aspects decades of progress on the digital society path. But at this point, to open the session, I would like to request Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Väino Reinart, please to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the panel hosted by Estonia. Well, as Kadri kindly introduced me, I am a Deputy Foreign Minister of Estonia, responsible for trade, investment, development cooperation, and that of course includes promotion of the different kind of e-government related services what have been designed and implemented in Estonia. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be able to say a couple of words by way of introduction. Yesterday night, when I got out of the plane and met the welcoming party at the airport, I was immediately impressed by the deep knowledge what the colleagues I met had about what Estonia has been able to achieve in terms of e-government related solutions and services designed and implemented in Estonia. Indeed, the decisions taken by the government of Estonia early in the century to offer as many public services over the internet 24/7 for free to the Estonian citizens have started bearing fruit. We have been able to put all of the services what technically could be offered over the internet at the disposal of the Estonian public, as well as at the disposal of some of our international friends interested in having access to the services offered in Estonia. Indeed, we have, well, everyone has e-banking these days. Well, we have e-taxport, e-health, e-school, well, whatever could technically be done by using the electronic services. Well, you name it, we probably have it. We believe Estonia serves as a good example on how modern technology could help a country becoming a donor, pulling a country out of poverty. Estonia used to be a recipient of international assistance until the turn of the century. Well, since we have been implementing all these public services as well as private services, what could be offered using the modern technology, we've been able to become a proud donor promoting the electronic services worldwide. We have also taken a number of institutional steps to facilitate the promotion of these services here in Africa by signing a memorandum of understanding between the African Union and Estonia, committing the Union and Estonia to promoting the services in Africa. We believe what we have designed and implemented could be replicated elsewhere and could be scaled up. Indeed, this is what brings us here today. This is what brings the little business delegation here today. We have representatives of a number of companies who have, in a way, been personally responsible for the implementation of the e-government related services in Estonia. You can easily find them here, well, at the panel, as well as in the audience. And they would be happy to share the experience, what they have gained, making the experience available to the interested nations here in Africa. I believe there is a great future ahead for the cooperation between different African nations and Estonia in promoting together the modern technology at the disposal of the general public. To conclude, I would like to thank the government of Rwanda for hosting us, to thank the organizers of the summit meeting, and also to thank the Estonian delegation for giving me the opportunity. So thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Reinhardt. It's great to have your presence at this occasion. So my name is Kadri Humalayal, and I will be the moderator for this session. I am in the region supporting Estonian smart city cluster companies coming into the region. And I will talk briefly about the main headline that this session holds, which is digital dividends. And naturally, digital dividends are part of the report, which has been published already for two years now by the World Bank. It's a World Bank report, which we do have to say a big thank you to our friend Juan Navas Sabater from World Bank, who availed this material to us. And of course, it's available also publicly, all the 358 pages of it. You're most welcome to it. But we'll briefly touch on this particular report in relation to Estonia and Estonia's experience. And probably the best way to start this off is actually by mentioning something that the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, mentioned yesterday himself. He talked specifically on the fact that any strategic investment, be it in technology or in education, will actually only have a full impact if it is indeed matched with an effort to ensure that all sectors of Rwandan society, but I know he speaks also generally about the African continent, so that all efforts on the African continent and of all sectors, the efforts are put in to offer access to the benefits to all. And indeed, digital solutions are only of value when they indeed provide access to all and benefits to all. And so as we look at this digital dividends report, those who have read the report would understand the reason why there are some people on the cover holding their mobile phones up in the air. It's not a rock concert. It is actually people in Djibouti who are holding up their mobile phones to have access to higher speed internet, which is across in Somalia. What a predicament. Somalia, which is a war-torn conflict country, has been so for a very long time, has gone ahead to make a step towards digital benefits in internet connectivity, which indeed would be then the question of what dividends can be arrived from that. And so I will mention another quote from yesterday, and this is from Estonia's former Minister former prime minister, who is currently leading the conversation in Europe on single digital market and single digital society. And so he indeed said that that interoperable digital identity is actually the basis for creating e-services. Because internet connectivity on its own does not provide dividends. So it's important to have that digital identity on which e-services can be built. And so it's that creating of those public e-services that will drive both connectivity and creation of single digital market. And so the report itself, of course, talks on many, many aspects of how different countries across the world have worked through their steps in creating digital benefits. And I would agree probably with both the people in this room and, of course, the authors of the report who would say that digital technology can accelerate. It can accelerate critical things to do with job creation. It can accelerate critical things to do with many, many aspects of the social sphere that there is. But how can those dividends indeed be turned around? I mean, I know you all love figures, so I know you all are glued onto the figures over there, which again, there is much more of that in the report. And so certainly when looking at digital technology, it talks of job creation, but most of the time when we talk of technology, we talk of digital solutions, particularly on the African continent. The first fear that comes up for people is, no, we will start to lose jobs. How would you say digital creates jobs when in reality we can already start to count ourselves and say so-and-so will have a job and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so will not have a job. And so it's the matter of being able to then have skills and knowledge that fall in the category of what will create jobs. And I'm quite happy that on our panel today, we've got one of the people speaking on the sphere of education, because if the education that is provided is moving us towards the dividends that the country can arrive at, then indeed those jobs will be created and not lost. When we talk of service delivery, of course, we nowadays expect service delivery to be instant. We don't expect to wait for the government to respond back to us within a month. In Estonia, that has a fully digital society, the response time normally is expected to be either automatic from the system within a couple of seconds or within 7 days at the very least. But service delivery, of course, at all levels in terms of being able to deliver services to your customers, because when we look at digital dividends, naturally it has to go across the board. It has to have benefits for the business, for the people, and for the government. So when we look at this particular material here, it actually talks about the way all the aspects when it comes to investment in digital. It needs to provide for businesses, people, and for the government. When you talk of the inclusion, efficiency, and innovation, the three boxes running down, the top one talks of it on the business side, the people side, and as well as on the government side. And so without the dividends going across the board, it would not provide the value. And so I think for many people, one would agree that also in this region, digital connectivity in itself is already starting to be viewed more as a human right and not purely as business. And so that of course is equally necessary. And so of course more figures, more materials in terms of what kind of governments are offering efficiency, how the client orientation can become available. And accountability, of course, is one of the things that is the biggest need, the biggest fear. When I talked about this particular event ahead of this session on social media, the comments that came back to me were accountability, transparency, and availability of services. That is what the people in this region were expecting as the digital dividends from e-governance, from e-solutions. And the panel here today will be at par to respond to those as well. And so I would actually want to hand over now, actually, to the panel, and in order to talk about what kind of framework is needed, because we can talk of accountability only when it is actually placed in form of legislation. So I would like to invite Teki, who has had great experience both in terms of being from the continent, working closely with Estonian e-governance solutions, and being a professional from the legal profession herself. Thank you. Should I come? Whichever way you prefer.
I'll sit here. Okay, thank you, Kadri. So I think you've started on the right note, and I would not want to belabor the importance of digitization for e-governance. Clearly, we all realize the digital dividends. This morning, I'm going to come from my own experience working as a consultant to governments on creating an enabling legal environment for ICT in Africa with the objective of boosting development. And what I have realized is that the general notion of digital dividends is understood by all our governments across the continent. In terms of the high-level policies to drive that agenda, at least in Ghana, I have seen that over the last decade or more. Now, the question is, what are we failing to do? And in my own experience, I have seen a number of challenges. The major one being from our approach to implementing digitization in governance. So the policies are there and they are right, and we identify the key infrastructural needs. A lot of the time that is put in place. But when it comes to the implementation of the IT systems, I then see a fragmented and uncoordinated approach, which usually leads to government spending lots of monies and not realizing the direct benefits. And I think the Estonian example is really good to look at and to follow to help us, especially as African countries go back to the drawing boards and then see where are we going wrong? You know, how do we bring together all the resources that we have over the last decade or so invested in ICT for e-governance, so that we can start looking at a coordinated and deliberate collaborative effort to realizing the benefits. I think that without putting those parameters in place, we will continue to dance around. And unfortunately, my biggest fear is that, you know, the digital revolution has passed us by. We are just at the beginning of the fourth revolution, and it's about time that our governments take a pragmatic approach to addressing these issues, because clearly the digital dividends are enormous and we need it to grow Africa, especially when we're looking at the main agenda for this meeting, which is, free trade across Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teki, for those remarks. And yes, indeed, in terms of being able to capture what the various phases of revolution and various phases of development are needing at this point in time in order not to be left behind. It would be interesting to hear then from the side of legal side, moving now on to how the courts can support and provide a system for enabling that.
How to ensure secure and reliable exchange of mission-critical data in an adverse, complex, and dynamic environment. Unified Exchange Platform, UXP for short, allows any organization to do just that. UXP system is made up of registry, security servers, trust services, monitoring system, and optional components. Registry keeps track of all servers and organizations and provides up-to-date information to all other systems and parties. Security servers are owned by the data owners and consumers and mediate all information exchanges. When data consumer performs a query over UXP, the security server gets the recipient location from registry. The query is then signed and sent over an encrypted channel directly to the recipient's security server. The receiving security server performs the following checks. Is the request signed by a trusted member? Is there a bilateral agreement to use the particular service? If these conditions are met, the necessary data is pulled from the database. Then, the reply is signed and returned over the encrypted channel to the requester. Each message in the transaction is digitally signed to ensure data integrity and authenticity. The message logs are timestamped and stored within the security servers in order to provide evidentiary value on all performed transactions. The trusted channel and reliable services for pulling correct data from relevant sources are available, which avoids data duplication. The distributed peer-to-peer system is scalable without limits. New organizations can join anytime and with ease. Existing information system architecture and services can be reused when joining the framework, which is usually not the case for traditional service bus platforms. Everyone can create trusted data exchange environments to provide services by governments or industries by installing UXP. UXP was developed by Cybernetica, the European cybersecurity company whose products and solutions for mission-critical systems are deployed in over 35 countries around the world. Find out more at cyber.ee/UXP.
Okay, so that's elaborating then on some of the matters that Teki touched on, but then we're now moving on to looking at how the court systems indeed can support the digital dividends.
Good morning, thank you. Thank you, Kadri. My name is Priit Kango, and I'm going to give a brief overview of what we have done in the area of justice, how the improving rule of law, transparency in justice sector has improved different governments. And I would start with Estonian showcase. Estonian justice digitalization started around 15-16 years ago, and as of now we have probably the highest court digitalization rate in Europe. In terms of speed of the throughput of the cases in the court, we're holding the second place. And Definitely, if to look what are our challenges, we do have a population of 1.3 million and 250 judges, which makes ratio around 5,000 citizens per one judge. It is really important to allocate the resources as well as possible and automate everything to leave the brains to make decisions, not handle routine processes. However, the number of civil cases is increasing. The average time in days solving the cases is decreasing. Now it's less than 100 days, according to the statistics, and it has been gradually decreasing since automation of the processes. So what, in conclusion, Estonia earned? What are the digital dividends we earned from the digitalization of justice? Time, very valuable resource. Secondly, trust. We have got the first place in Europe in digitalization area, and we have got 14th place in ease of doing business report. Enforcing contracts is one of the key elements evaluating countries whether the foreign direct investments are willing to come or not. They want to have clear picture, how it goes with my contracts, how it goes with the disputes. If I have problem with my business partner, how long time it takes to solve it. It doesn't even matter what is the solution, but the shorter it is, investors are more happy to come to the country. And the monetization. Our justice system is one of the most cost effective in terms of return on investments. And if I was looking at the foreign direct investments per capita in East Europe, we've got the third place. So I think Estonia has digitalized the justice vertical quite well, and that has been one of the key cornerstone to help develop businesses, create new jobs, and to make our government more efficient. Secondly, I would talk about Ugandan showcase. We are at the moment working with the jailer sector of Uganda. And the reason I put that picture here is actually the children. One of the youngest nation in the world, and I feel that it's necessary to provide them decent life. More than 6 million people are entering the labor market in Uganda next 5 years. If we develop better rule of law using digital, it helps citizens to achieve decent life, more jobs, and to develop the country. If I told in Estonia we have 1 judge per 5,000 citizens, in Uganda this is 1 judge per 500,000 citizens. Can you imagine the workload per 1 judge if doing everything manually? It is according to the World Bank report, several hundred days to put through simple case through the court. So these are the challenges we will tackle with the digitalization agenda. What could be achieved? Increase of case management efficiency by at least 5 times. This is what we have learned from other countries. Secondly, through 24/7 access over portal, we can improve people's involvement, businesses' involvement. Investors will come and will be more happy to make secure investments in Uganda. And third, that will be trustable country. Being more connected to the process through the portal, you can see what is going on. It will make the process more transparable and decrease the possible corruption. Another case, we did a project in North Iraq, in Kurdistan region. They had really great challenges before the e-court project started. Long processes, very poor accessibility, and high management and operational costs. After the case management and core digitalization process was implemented, citizens were provided with a one-stop shopping approach. Instead of queuing days, they could register the case within 9 minutes compared to 1.5 days before. Lots of costs were saved. 250 technical employees were replaced by 40. Of course, remaining ones, they actually started to do more value-added work. And third, the business development improved since the court system provides also the business licenses. Now more and more small businesses are initiated in that region. So, before it was so that you had to bring your papers and queue for days to register your case. After, we have initiated a one-stop shop, and everything is served over the service desk. Before, the document management was handled in the old way. Nobody could actually find quickly the papers. There was actually accident as well. The old archive burned down because of the guard was smoking. And now it is everything computerized, and everything is much more secured. You can get the access to the data immediately, and the data is always backed up. Thank you. I do feel that African countries can benefit a lot from improving the rule of law by digitalizing justice from courts, prosecution, all the aspects of the legal process. And I think that if we can bring down the speed of court case from 400, 500 days, what is the average here in the region, down to 100, 150, that would be the great strategic target for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Preet. And there could be some questions that are starting to maybe arise among the people in the audience. We will take questions in the end so that we maximize the time that we have left. And yes, indeed, Preet, I've lived in Kenya for the last 22 years, and I have a court case that has not been resolved since the year 2006. So that would be great if that got resolved. Now we want to hear then from Geerts when it comes to other very, very important component when it comes to this region. Indeed, justice for all is very critical for human rights and to get dividends. But education, I think, is considered one of the very, very key pillars for the countries and the economies to move forward. So Girts, please.
Yes, thank you, Kadri. So my name is Dirts. I represent a company called K12 Technologies. We have been providing software for schools already for 15 years. We started in Estonia. And during this Transform Africa Summit, I've noticed that there have been many discussions about digital societies and digitalizing many different sectors, and I fully support that, but I think that one of the sectors which has so far has not received enough attention is the education sector. And as OECD put it, that your education today is your economy tomorrow. And if we look at the demographics of Rwanda in this case, but I think that this could apply probably to other African countries as well, as Preet already noted in his presentation, that the population in African countries is quite young. And if we take Rwanda example, the biggest part of the population is actually school-aged children from up to 20 years of age. So to be able to talk about real digital society, education should be one of the places to actually start and digitalize schools and the education process. So back in 2002, when we started in Estonia, one of the core concepts that we understood was that to be able to achieve good results in education, we not only need to provide better access to information, but as well try to involve parents more in the education process so that parents get access to information the same way as a student does, so that they can get live information about grades or attendance or homework that there has to be done for tomorrow. So basically, they would receive all the live data about the child's education process. And in an ideal world, we would assume that the kids would always come on time to the classes, they would always do their homeworks on time, they would get excellent grades. But the reality is a bit different, and the kids are more like little devils with excessive amounts of energy. And the question is, how do you achieve that this energy is directed towards the right goals? And one of this approach to do is to try to get parents involved in the whole education process, and technology can greatly help to achieve this goal. And these are actual numbers that are achieved in Estonia, for example. And of course, we cannot take all credit that our technology is purely responsible for these achievements, but we definitely think that our digital tools have greatly contributed to achieving these results in Estonia. Currently, Estonian 15-year-olds are the best in Europe in PISA tests and amongst the strongest in the world. So these are actual numbers that have been already achieved. How we've done this is by getting all the involved parties onto one a cloud integrated platform, so that all the parties can access information on a daily basis, basically, so that parents can get information about the performance of the kids, so that teachers can communicate with home and with students, so schools can actually monitor the performance of their teachers and the school, and as well that the local government actually is involved in this whole process, so that they can monitor the performance of the education sector or regions or municipalities on a daily basis rather than on a yearly basis when the whole statistics are gathered, so that appropriate measures can be taken basically on a daily basis. And some of the numbers that we got from our statistics in Estonia is that we have reduced student school skipping by 30% during these 15 years, and the dropout rates by up to 80%, which are quite impressive results, I believe. During one of my presentation, someone was joking that yes, these are good and impressive results, but in Africa we can achieve these same results by providing free lunch in schools. And on one hand, I kind of agree with this statement, but the question is, what are you going to achieve with providing free lunch? Are the students going to come to school to eat, or they are going to come to school to study? And I think that that digital tools can also be much cheaper to achieve these same goals than providing free lunch in schools. And another aspect of digitalization in schools is that I hear that many people think that it complicates the whole education process, and it is more work for the teachers. But actually, statistics show quite different picture, that the teachers are able to save up to 45 minutes per day, not doing administrative tasks. So basically, 45 minutes per day add up to a full working day, basically per month. So that's the time that they can spend more teaching rather than doing administrative stuff. Currently we operate in several countries already. Estonia is our home market, and we have achieved quite good results. During these 15 years, we've been able to learn a lot about the needs of the schools, what kind of technology they use on a daily basis. Of course, certainly there have been certain mistakes that have been made during these 15 years, and we are happy to provide you our know-how, provide you our technology, and maybe help you to avoid the mistakes that were made maybe with our technology during these 15 years, and achieve the same results which we have achieved much faster. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards or at the pavilion.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Geerts. And yes, indeed. I think one of the remarkable approaches that Estonia has is indeed speaking about the various mistakes Estonia has made along the way. Estonia does not at any time come and say we've done everything right all the way and we are the only shining star in the world. But Estonia comes to share its experience, its knowledge, and provide guidance in form of being a good partner. And so if until now maybe it would look like indeed there are digital dividends, but they all lie squarely within Estonia, the next speaker, would talk more about how the digital dividends actually get to be spread more in form of co-innovation, co-development, together with people in this region, and indeed showing the way Estonia has been always interested in developing strong local partners and working closely with the communities where they would like to have some solutions taking the shape that Estonia has. So, please.
Thank you, Kadri. Hello. How are you? Switch it on. Yes, it's working. Very nice. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to be here. Like Kadri said, my name is Rait. I'm working for one Estonian company, ReachU. And like Kadri mentioned, co-innovation and doing things together is something that I believe is common to Estonian companies in general, as well as to ReachU. I was using the slide of opening slide of the Rwandan president because, according to my knowledge, he has been a very strong supporter and a driving force as well for the cooperation in Africa. So three things I would like to mention about ReachU, and I would like to mention about all Estonian companies in general, is that first thing is Estonian companies never think that client doesn't have enough budget. We always find a solution according to the existing resources. There is no solvable problems just because there is lack of money. Second point is that when we finish our job, we want our client to be able to take the solution over. We want to carry on with a new project, next project, so it brings us to the knowledge transfer. We want client to be independent from us, that we can focus on the new things. And third thing is co-innovation according to the local needs. 1.5 years when ReachU first came to Africa, East Africa, we encountered that our technology is there, but this technology solves or can solve completely different problems of the client, completely different problems that are unique for the Africa, for example, and not existing in Europe. I'm also a strong believer that one picture can tell more than 1,000 words. So I would like to let you see one practical example from the Kenya.
Currently, what you do is people walk and stop, they drive and stop, and they watch and keep on like that. It's not repeatable, it's not possible to see everything. But with Ivy, what you may find is that you will record everything that is there.
So this is, for example, a very good example of technology that was used in Estonia and neighboring countries to detect road defects, and this was the main focus. We came with this technology to Africa, we heard local needs, and actually we discovered that it can provide data input for building smart cities, it can provide increased revenues for identifying, for example, advertisement sites, business licenses, businesses that have to pay licenses. And we took all these needs and we applied together with Mombasa County as an example of co-innovation. There is two keywords that ReachU can use. One of them is visual intelligence that you just saw, and the other thing is location intelligence. Location intelligence, on this area, we have encountered very interesting stories. I was meeting Ministry of ICT, and they were telling that we want to increase the education of our ICT skills of our university students. We have programs, we have money, but the problem is that we actually don't know where are they, how many they are. We don't know where to locate the resources. The next example I will show you is from Santiago de Chile, but this describes exactly what we in Europe doing software that goes to the why it's not
Forward.
doing software that is meant to be served by for mobile operators can actually benefit African countries. There is lack of statistics. There is lack of knowledge of where are people, where they live, where they go to school, where are the tourists, for example, in the country. And all these business cases are unique and can be solved by the similar video like next example.
Urban planning has always been challenging. The more cars we have, the less space there is for people. Fortunately, modern technology offers new possibilities. When people move around with mobile devices, SIMs connect to cell towers. This generates an enormous amount of transaction data. After processing and anonymizing, this data is used for understanding current urban mobility patterns. Cities have common areas with massive increases in traffic during rush hour. As a result, traffic jams are very common. Understanding mobility patterns gives transport authorities valuable input for implementing solutions to smoothen the flow and prevent traffic jams. When planning transport infrastructure, it is important to understand how people move around and why. So far, these surveys have been time-consuming. By using network-based data, it is possible to create a more accurate understanding of where people are coming from, where they're heading, and most importantly, why they're doing it. The subway is the backbone of Santiago's transport system. Our analyses show why it is so popular. The underground moves 7 times more passengers during peak hours and is 20% faster than surface routes. Nevertheless, public transport systems need continuous optimization to retain and raise their popularity. It's the only way to slow down the constant increase in the number of cars on the road. The innovative approach of combining long-term knowledge and modern tools makes use of the digital footprints we all leave behind simply by moving around with our mobile devices. In this way, we can all contribute to improving our quality of life by helping plan and manage urban space efficiently and according to our actual needs.
So this is the second example what can be done. And this particular study that we made in Chile, it was used to make manually as well. We did it 20 times cheaper, just using the data that are there. And this is, for example, the benefit that Estonian companies can bring to African countries to understand where to direct resources, where is the need, and all this kind of information to make smart decisions. Thank you very much. We are open for the questions, I guess.
Thank you very much, Right. And so now we have some time to hear any clarifications, any questions, anything that you've heard so far that might have triggered a thought in your head that you'd like the expert panel to respond to. We have some mics, I believe, in the audience. So raise your hand, say where you're from, and whom you would like to place the question to.
Je parle en français parce que je suis François Mbende, directeur général de l'Agence congolaise des systèmes d'information. C'est l'agence gouvernementale de l'informatique de l'État. Je suis tellement émerveillé par l'exemple estonien. Si mes souvenirs sont bons, je crois que l'Estonie faisait partie de l'ancienne Union soviétique. Est-ce que c'est bien ça? Je crois. Et donc c'est l'ancien pays communiste, mais qui aujourd'hui étonne. Vous voyez, ce qu'on attribue à l'Estonie aujourd'hui, même la Russie, on ne lui attribue pas la même chose. Alors, bravo l'Estonie. Ce que je veux dire, je vais poser des questions un peu techniques. Je vais descendre un peu bas par rapport à ce qui a été présenté. Ma préoccupation, c'est la suivante. Je peux vous poser la question de savoir en combien de temps vous avez, chez vous d'abord, avant de l'amener chez les autres, en combien de temps vous avez pu numériser le système de la justice ou de l'enseignement, par exemple. Je veux dire, combien de temps de développement informatique ça a pris par vos développeurs. Combien de temps ça prend? C'est intéressant parce que pour des pays comme chez nous, il y a encore tout à faire. Est-ce qu'il faudrait réinventer la roue, reprendre à zéro, ou il faudrait, comme vous l'avez dit, parler de co-innovation, c'est-à-dire partir de votre expérience avec des gens certainement bien outillés et pouvoir aller plus vite. Je veux dire, si on refait le travail seul ou si on le fait avec votre aide, quelle est la différence de temps? Quel est le gain de temps qu'il peut y avoir? Quel est le gain de temps de développement qu'il peut y avoir? Je parle de la numérisation de l'administration, hein, comme la justice, comme l'enseignement d'ailleurs. Ça peut être les finances, ça peut être n'importe quel domaine de l'administration.
Okay.
Et l'autre question que je voudrais poser, est quelle est votre approche à vous, quelle est votre politique par rapport au système, au matériel que vous utilisez? Est-ce que c'est des solutions propriétaires ou c'est des solutions beaucoup plus libres? Ça aussi, c'est important à savoir. Voilà un peu les questions que je pose. Merci.
Great. Thank you very much for that question. We'll take maybe let's take 3 more questions and then we'll start to answer. Yep.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Lepczynski. I work for the Lisbon Council, a think tank based in Brussels, Europe. I wanted to know whether, with all your e-government solutions that you're provided in these different countries, whether you are aware of the inspiration it could have given to digital entrepreneurs, for example, to develop new solutions of their own. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Let's take 2 more.
Hello, thanks for the good presentation. My name is Seth Ndaishimie. I'm originally from Rwanda. I'm residing in Finland, so I will first give a complimentary comment. Estonia has done a good work, and I can witness that because I have visited Estonia many, many times. So coming to my question, you are having business operations in different geographical areas in Asia, Latin America, Africa. What are specific challenges you are meeting when you are entering African market? I'm asking this because I'm working for a Finnish big company called Wärtsilä within the energy sector, and been working in Africa, and we have also been facing some challenges. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's take last question, and then we respond to these.
Hi, my name is Eugene, and I'm from Rwanda. Actually, I have a question that I've been given a chance to talk a bit with you. I see what your vision, and I see that it's actually quite innovative, even from European standards. But then, how not to make it overlap to what's done here in Rwanda, in the sense that we already have organizations that are doing some e-services, e-governance, and how actually can we work? Can you work with us, or is it more like SES services, so you come, deliver, and then you maintain, or is it about training? So that's actually my question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we can start with Preet and yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. I would take the opportunity to explain or try to answer your question about whether it could be done quicker, if I correctly understood, if taking the knowledge and the experiences we have had, and if we could sort of copy and paste them to another country. The answer is yes. That would be much quicker, because what we have learned through our journey, which is we have had our independence more than 25 years now. The digital revolution started about 20 years ago. I would say we have perhaps the third generation of digital solutions in Estonia. So you could avoid probably some of the steps what we have done, some of the learnings what we have done, and let's say maybe it's twice. Maybe you could be 2 times quicker. Why? Let's say if we make first solution and we recognize this is not the one we really need, we make another one, so it would take twice the time we thought. But having the knowledge and having the experiences, asking the right questions before starting any technological project, this is the biggest value and this is the biggest lesson we have learned. So our offer, our value offer to developing countries and to you would include consultancy. And perhaps the consultancy, capacity building, policy making is even a bit bigger part than the technology part. Technology is just enabling to implement your policies. So the answer is yes, it can be quicker. We have done, we can set up the court system within 1 year from scratch, including also the hardware and infrastructure. But it really requires cooperation from the organization. It requires the digital champion from your side who is taking responsibility of pushing through the new digital process, because digital process is different from analog process. In analog process, you must have certain steps, but in digital process, you can avoid them or make them automatically. Let's say we analyzed a slice of the legal process in Uganda, 17 analog steps, but in digital world it would be 6, because only 6 steps are giving value. 11 ones are supporting. We can automate them. So the answer is, it can be quick if you have made your decision, and if we combine the technology with consultancy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody who would like to take the questions regarding inspiration or the overlap? Yeah, Girts.
Yeah, so Your Excellency, I just wanted to as well add a little bit regarding your question of the right steps regarding implementing technology in different sectors. So I'd like to address education. So I think that one of the most common misconception that I see is that many countries think that they need the proper hardware in all classrooms, for example, to be able to use digital solutions. And here I would like to comment and make an example about Estonia, for example, that when we started, we didn't have, in 2002, we didn't have all classrooms equipped with hardware, all classrooms with computers. And we brought the technology together with the hardware. So basically, when you implement a solution or a software solution, then the incentive to start implementing hardware as well is stronger, and the need is there as well. Because not so good approach would be to establish the hardware and put all classrooms full of computers, but then they would sit there without any actual use. So what we see is that the first steps in software solutions can be made even without digitalizing the whole classroom, for example. And I think that you are here in advantage because nowadays, if we compare to 2002, there are many different cheap devices, Android devices, tablets, which serve the purpose that computers did in 2002. So you can kind of go the next step right away and implement the technology which is out there now. So yeah, we are in the transition of changing from computers to tablets, but you can go the right way today.
All right, great. Yes.
Okay, so just to respond to that, and I'm going to come in from my experience on the African continent. I agree with him how long it will take. We can learn from their experiences and where they've gotten to. But I've realized that a chunk of it has to do with our own change management issues. And that has to do with the people that are going to use these technologies and the people that are going to be required to use these processes. And in my own experience, that is where it takes sometimes unnecessarily long, and that is where sometimes we fail. So if we are getting ready, like he mentioned, the policies must be right, the change management, the people must be brought in right at the beginning of the process, not at the end when you have a device or a system and you want them to use it. And you work with them consistently through it so that you have the necessary buy-in.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody who wants to talk about how Estonian solutions have inspired others on the continent or about overlap?
I can answer to this question, but I didn't understand the question exactly like the way you said it right now. It's a new question for me. But if I understood correctly, the question was that what has been the impact of this on the youth and on the education and etc. on the society? So. Yes, exactly. This is how I understood. Recently, I read in The Economist, Estonia is one of the highest, has one of the highest startups per capita. So it already says that yes, the young population takes digital services as normal. My kids, they are using e-school every day, several times. 10 years old, they go internet banking. So since they live in this kind of environment, they become used to it, and as well they think more innovatively in the digital way to become a digital entrepreneur. So basically the answer is yes.
Okay. Maybe I'll talk about the overlap, because I think in many ways, one of the things that has come through from the panelists as well is Estonia is not coming to say, take this little black box from us and utilize it as we utilize it in Estonia. And so it is more in form of, this is how we've done it. Is there anything in how we have done it that you might be able to learn from, benefit from? And is there a way in which Estonian solutions can complement or add value to what is already in place on the ground, with the recognition that all of the countries on the African continent or globally, everybody has digital initiatives. It's not Estonia that holds 100% right to every digital solution. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes that we're able to take a couple of more questions.
Actually, Kadri,
there was
one more question is not answered.
We had two more questions.
Yes, Kadri, there was a question about what kind of barriers.
Yes, I apologize. Yes, indeed.
The Estonian companies have encountered. The first, if I may say from our side, the first barrier is to know the right way to get to right business partners, to get to knowledge about the local culture. Because Estonia and Africa they are far, and one thing when we come to a particular country is actually we need to spend time to understand the situation, understand the opportunities, and understand the potential cooperation partners to make decisions. So like sharing and cooperation of business communities, chambers of commerce, and etc. certainly could help Estonian companies more to learn about a particular African country and speed up a bit of the process of entering.
Any other barriers? Yes, please.
From my company, Net Group experience, we have recognized, unfortunately, quite high bureaucracy in terms of attending the public tenders. And I'll just give you an example, which is quite silly reason for us. We were suspended in one of the tender. I was signing the proposal, but our offer was suspended because I didn't sign power of attorney for myself. However, I am the chairman of the board and having full power to sign on behalf of my company. And to dispute that silly reason, I had to pay 5 million Rwandan not shillings. It's about 1,000 or more dollars. And to go through that discussion, it basically takes too many people's time. Tens of highly paid officials are dealing with this silly question. Weeks are going on and nothing is happening. So I'm really, I do understand some of the reasons. I really appreciate the principles of keeping transparency, but some of the things are going too far in terms of trying to be very transparent. Thank you.
All right. Yes, there are, I can see two hands up, yes.
All right, so I'm Alex from Japanese company Sumitomo, Ukrainian, work in Moscow. A simple question, would you elaborate on this ROI Mr. Preet, yeah? ROI on e-court system, because return on investment on these public services is not so easy thing, right?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Excuse me, can you yeah.
Would you please elaborate about ROI methodology of calculation?
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Let's take a couple of more. Then okay.
Okay.
Je vais parler en français. Excusez-moi. Je suis Moustapha Mohamed, directeur général de l'Agence des systèmes d'information de Djibouti. Et c'est une nouvelle agence qui a été créée dans le but de digitaliser l'administration et faciliter les services aux citoyens. Ma question était de savoir, comme je le vois sur le diagramme là-bas, l'ID et la plateforme d'interopérabilité ont-ils été des clés de succès et est-ce que c'est un must? C'est par là qu'il faut commencer pour pouvoir développer des services comme le e-court ou d'autres où on peut développer des services sans avoir ces plateformes. Et quelles ont été est-ce que c'est un must? Est-ce que c'est un prérequis pour développer tout service digital?
Okay. Any other question at this point, or we can proceed with answers? There is a hand up on that side, please.
Thank you. I'm Samburu from Kenya. I'm an economist. My concern is I've listened to the most presentations on what solutions they're offering to Africa. And Africa is mainly agrarian economies. We are talking of food security, where we have a lot of hunger, we have a lot of wastes from environmental vagaries. How is the ICT solutions they're offering able to sort out these issues of food security and agriculture wastages?
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, all right, so we can take one more question and then, Jana, sorry, there's one more question in front here.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Ibrahim Kuruma. I'm actually from Guinea. I'm an e-government consultant and next to Smart Africa, of course. And I was previously, some of my colleagues from Burundi and Congo, responsible for e-government strategy for the country of Guinea. So he was actually trying to elaborate on the previous comment about some of the bottlenecks that Estonian company has encountered actually in coming to Africa. So I think it's very important to stipulate, not even to stipulate, to mention that is actually an agreement between ICT cluster, of Estonian ICT cluster in Smart Africa to help the Estonian company to understand the cultural landscape of Africa and how actually the African companies and African, government can benefit, from the Estonian experience. And the MOU was signed actually on the 21st of last month. Actually, Ms. Kadri, we were very pleased to have her representing the ICT cluster in that signing. And of course, all these bottlenecks and can be addressed through the MOU because Smart Africa was actually set up to help any investors, any company that wanted to come to Africa to try to help them understand those cultural landscape. So I just wanted to make that statement so people will understand exactly that there is actually solutions, effort, to take care of that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we can come to the questions now on return of investment in particular. Yeah.
Does it work? Yeah. I would answer the question how to calculate the return on investments. There are two basic components. One of them would be the organizational efficiency. The court process can be analyzed so that every phase can have a price based on the salaries and the running cost of the court. So this is one component, and we can monetize that in terms of what is the price before and after the e-court is developed. And secondly, second big part would be the cost related to society. All participants and their time, me being a private person, another company, so all my minutes, all my hours can be referred to the money, and this is another part. So we can see how much efficiency government could get just as court organization, and how much the society can win from the digitalization. So those components are taken into the consideration. If you would be interested, I can talk with you about the methodology. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for the systems that you've talked about here, be it the e-court, e-education, or the various solutions of REACH-EU, is interoperability a must?
Thank you. Interoperability is certainly a must for governmental services. When it comes to the REACH-EU services, necessarily we don't need interoperability in many cases. I'm not the correct person actually to answer this question because the gentleman is sitting over there who can speak about interoperability for a long time. But having a background from the same company, then yes, I can say that it's a backbone, because otherwise you have isolated systems, and isolated systems do not speak to each other, and you don't, even if you have all the registries in place from the government side, the efficiency is still missing because the documents have to be transmitted by paper, for example, and the data have to be duplicated, for example. So principally, it's the one of the very first thing to do in your country. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Yes. I wanted to say that in my own experience, I think an interoperability framework definitely is one of the key policy documents that you would need. Once you have a framework document, you would then have decided, even if there are smaller components, what those systems should entail to allow for easier interoperability. So you may not need to have all or everything ready to come on board, but I believe with a very good interoperability framework, you can have or hive of components that can easily be implemented and then moved on and then expand on the project. Because in Africa, a lot of the time, in fact, it's not just Africa, everywhere in the world, nobody has all the resources they need at the same time to go fully digital.
And so, Teki, would you say that interoperability is not so much primarily a technology question, it is a legislative question?
I wouldn't say it's more of a policy question, because you have to go to the drawing boards and then you need to look at how, even if there are different technologies, they're going to work. And the technology only comes in to assist the framework. It's not necessarily legal, but it's a policy issue.
It's a policy issue. Anything else on interoperability?
A short comment from my side regarding like practical example regarding Estonian market. So recently we counted 11 different systems that our e-school solution is integrated with. So this is a good example which shows that actually the more the country is digitalized, the more systems there are in the market, and the more you need to be able to integrate those systems so that they don't live only one isolated life, but they talk to each other so that the information is exchanged between those systems.
Okay. All right. And anything that you can respond to the question relating to agriculture, food security, how technology can provide any breakthrough in that?
Everybody's looking at me. So I understand that now I need to be in the expert of food security or agriculture. I must say to you that I don't know that I don't know this area. What we have done in Estonia related to the agriculture, it is more of surveillance of the fields to try to make farmers or motivate farmers to take care of their fields better, to improve the productivity in that sense. Now, when it comes to the security, then unfortunately I don't know.
Anything you can comment on your planned project?
Basically, this is what is example what I was giving. That next month I'm flying to Mauritius. Mauritius relies heavily on the sugarcane, and so heavily that the government has established a national insurance fund that compensates the losses from natural disasters, for example, both to the farmers and to the millers. And what they want to achieve, that they want to achieve the visibility of their fields, to understand how much of the actual area is covered with sugarcane, how much is their percentage of the weed, what is the level of the chlorophyll in the plants to measure the healthiness of the plants. So basically, because the idea is that when the natural disaster happens, for example, they want to pay more compensation to the farmers that take care of their fields better than the ones who are neglecting the fields, basically. So this is, for example, on the area of the agriculture that REACH-EU is very excited to conduct a project in Mauritius and provide them with necessary data and input to automate their insurance compensations and motivate the farmers to take care of their fields better.
All right, great. Thank you very much. I think our time is up, and I would simply want to say that if you look at Estonia, you look at everything that Estonia has achieved in the e-solutions space, and yes, indeed, while we did have our past as being colonized by the Soviet Union, we have certainly broken free from that, and similar to Rwanda. Rwanda is also a small country, and one of the things that equally His Excellency the President Kagame says, as a small country, we make sure that we are remembered for big things. So Estonia indeed intends to be remembered for big things in digital technology. Thank you very much for your presence here.